So this is the Jackson Misha Mansoor Juggernaut HT6 model in Laguna Burst. This will be more about my overall thoughts on the guitar and not so much me playing it. There will be snippets of me playing the guitar, but this is more so if it's worth your money or not. Aesthetically speaking, this guitar is absolutely stunning. The quilted maple top, it doesn't really even do it justice on camera, like you have to see it in person, and the way the sunlight hits it is just something else. It's almost hypnotizing just to look at it. I haven't even like touched it up or like rubbed it down with a quick finish or anything. It still looks that good. One thing I do love aesthetically about this guitar is the hip shot gear and the open locking tuners. That is a really nice touch and it gives it a touch of class. It comes with, I'm pretty sure this one's an older body, but I know some of them do come with basswood, quilted maple top, ebony fretboard, and a quarter sawn maple neck. I've never actually had an ebony fretboard before. All I've had is rosewood, and I noticed straight away that the grain on this is much tighter and it's much smoother to bend on, which is nice because it doesn't catch on and you can really hear how your bending is influencing whatever you're playing. Some of the other features are hip shot open gear locking tuners, lumen lace side dots, which is really handy if you're playing like on a dark stage or something so you can still see where your hands are, extra jumbo stainless steel frets, Dunlop strap locks, Misha Mansoor's own set of bare knuckle pickups, the Juggernaut pickups, hip shot bridge, hip shot knobs, and a 5-way selector. It's a bolt-on body with a string through construction. Interesting thing about this tone knob is that it doesn't actually work unless it's pulled up, so it's a push-pull pop. And when it's up, you can roll off the tone, but when it's down, you can roll it as much as you want, but it's not going to affect the tone of your guitar, and that's kind of to prevent accidentally bumping it when you're playing or something. But even though it's pretty far away from where you're striking, unless you're really playing hard, I don't think that would ever be a problem anyway. I've had this one since September 2018, so about 5-6 months ago now, which means I've had a lot of time to get used to it and kind of gather my thoughts and not just have like a first impressions where I just love it and love every aspect of it. Even though I am a big Periphery fan, I kind of just want to take a look at it today as objectively as possible, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what you're getting for your money's worth, and is it worth you forking out the extra $1 for a custom shop USA model. Originally I was going to get a Pro Series model, but then this was on sale at Paul Mac Guitars in New South Wales for $3,000 Australian. $3,000 Australian is kind of like $2 and a bit grand American, so put that into perspective, that's pretty much a steal for this guitar brand new. I'm pretty sure if you want to buy this guitar right now, it's probably like $4,500 Australian or something, so I got it at a price I can't refuse. Originally I was going to get the Pro Series model, which is made in Indonesia, but I have heard some horror stories with the quality control that comes out of that factory for whatever reason, so I kind of held off. But then this guitar was $3,000, so I couldn't say no. This is like the first ever high-end instrument that I've ever owned. Just to give some perspective, some of the other guitars that I've got are like your standard Ibanez RGs, like kind of mid-range guitars. I've got a fan fret Ibanez here as well. So just like to put that in perspective, these are the guitars that I'm accustomed to and I've been playing for years now. So this is like my first transition into a high-end instrument. And to put it bluntly, this guitar has pretty much shattered any mid-range instrument that I've ever touched. When you play a premium instrument like this that's built to absolute perfection, there's no going back to a mid-range guitar. $3-4 grand is a lot of money to spend on a guitar, and when you buy it, of course you want it to be as perfect as possible and you want nothing to be wrong with it, which is exactly what I wanted. Obviously I'm not going to lie and say that, oh, you know, if it comes with this and that, I won't really care. I wanted this to be like the perfect instrument, and it pretty much is. People often argue about custom shops and just Indonesian made or South Korean made and whether it's worth the price jump. After having this for a while now, I can definitely see the difference between an American made custom shop and an Indonesian mid-range guitar. The attention to detail and the overall construction of the guitar. This guitar feels so rigid, like I could just beat the shit out of this guitar and nothing will happen. One thing I noticed straight away when I opened this was how well built this guitar was. Like, this thing is solid. I've noticed that even though this is a 25.5-inch scale, which is the same as my RG, the tension on the strings on this one feels a little bit tighter, which means I can pick a bit harder, and I'm a very hard picker, so that's always good. Lots of the specs on this guitar have carried on to other brands and their models of the modern gent or the modern metal type guitar. Like for instance, the hip shot hardware or the lumen lace side dots or the bare knuckle pickups. Like everything in this guitar has kind of paved the way for other manufacturers to kind of have a basis on what they want to set their modern metal guitar as. And this is my first time playing with any of these things like the hip shot locking tuners or the hip shot bridge or the bare knuckle pickups. And of course I was excited to try all of these things because you see on forums and YouTube videos, and of course you want to try it and how well it feels in your hand, if the pickups are as spanky as they seem on the YouTube video and whatnot. And I can say honestly that everything from the bridge to the pickups to the tuners to just the construction of this guitar is immaculate. I've looked this guitar up and down, every nook and cranny, every little bit of wood, every bit of hardware to see anything that's wrong with it, and there is not one single blemish on this guitar. The craftsmanship on this guitar is second to none. There's absolutely nothing on this instrument that would just diminish the value at all. I guess that just comes down to being a custom shop and the attention to detail that they put. People argue whether the jump to go to a custom made instrument or just a USA model is worth the money in terms of the value and what you get for it. But I think it doesn't come with what the actual specs are on the guitar. I think it comes to just the attention to detail and the craftsmanship of the instrument. With the mid-range instruments, even though they could both have hip shot hardware and bare knuckle pickups, they just wouldn't feel as good when you play it. It's not even from the neck profiles or the body cuts or anything. It's not to do with that. It's literally just the construction of the guitar and how rigid this thing is. Like, I could beat the shit out of this guitar in drop C and it just won't budge. I could drop this to A and nothing will happen. Even though this is 25.5" scale length, which is the same as my Ibanez RG, when I pick just as hard on this one, it doesn't bend up and pitch as much. Like, it just stays, which I think comes down to the construction of the instrument. And maybe it's the neck being so solid and there's less flex. I don't know what's going on. It's some voodoo magic, but it just works. The action is perfect. It plays perfect. There isn't a single part of this guitar that makes me wish I could change anything. Ergonomically speaking, this guitar is very comfortable to hold and play. The neck isn't super duper thin like Ibanez Wizard neck thin. It's nothing like that. It's kind of got a roundness to it, which I didn't think I'd like at first, but after playing it for a while, I think your hand just gets used to it and you kind of hit everything with a bit more conviction because you've got that extra support on the back of your thumb. As far as body cuts go, this doesn't have a forearm cut because it's a calf top, but just the nature of a calf top and how it kind of goes outward, it kind of fits to your forearm anyway. The tummy tuck is very nice though. I think it goes a bit deeper than most, I'm not sure. It certainly like hugs against you really well. As well as getting to the end frets with the heel, I can hit them with no problem, and that's all thanks to this handshake heel, as they like to call it. You can really get your hand up there, and you can even go further than the end of the fretboard, so that's always good. Pickups. Now, I know a lot of people say bare knuckle pickups are extremely overpriced for what you get, and there's other pickups out there that can sound as good, or if not better, such as like Fishman's and stuff like that. If you want to buy a calibrated set of these pickups right now in Australia, it will cost you anywhere between $450 to $500, which is about $350, $375-ish American. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure that's like the rough estimate. If I had to give 3 words to describe this pickup set, it would be tight, responsive, and even. No matter what pickup position you're on, everything is tight. There's nothing overpowering. There's no frequencies that are really like taking over the whole spectrum. Everything is just even, nice, and warm sounding. But if you pick really hard on the bridge pickup, it can get pretty brittle, but in a good way. Going from active pickups in all my other guitars to passives in here, I could tell the difference straight away. And even though people say passives have less output, this thing sings. I had to buy a DI box just for this guitar so that it wouldn't clip into my interface. And my interface isn't even that bad. It's a Steinberg UR22 Mark II model, which isn't like beginner. It's kind of like in the middle for a bedroom guitarist, but even so, even when hi-fi was on and the input was all the way down, it would still clip because this thing just roars. Even though it's a really loud instrument, it's as loud as you want it to be. The pickups are really responsive. If you pick lightly, it'll sound light. If you go full on and pick hard, it'll really translate through whatever you're recording into. Like, it'll just get that much more saturated and that much more full of life. This neck pickup is one of the best neck pickups I've ever tried in a guitar, and I think that just comes down to it having this kind of tonality where it doesn't have that overpowering woof that most neck pickups have. Even though it's thick and fat, it still cuts through. Next position, which is the coil split, I don't really use this position much. The middle pickup I don't really use much. One thing I absolutely adore about these pickups is the fourth position coil split. It sounds so good. It's like sparkly, dreamy. It's like the typical John Petrucci sparkle. It is amazing. And it works really well with cleans. The bridge pickup is very, very spanky, but not honky, and it's very responsive to how you play it. So, final conclusion, is this guitar worth your money? It depends. If you have a mid-range instrument and you're happy with it and you're happy with what it provides you, then stick with it. There's no reason to spend all that money on this guitar. However, if you're looking for that extra step and wondering what a custom-made instrument can get you, it's not so much the specs of the guitar, but the actual craftsmanship and the attention to detail that the luthiers put into making something this rigid, stable, and sounding this good. If you have the luxury of going into a guitar shop that stocks this guitar, then by all means go in there, have a look, try it out, see what you think, but then try out a mid-range kind of guitar and see if you can justify whether it's worth spending the extra coin. If you're into writing like modern metal riffs or djenty riffs, then this is the guitar for you if it's a 6-string. This comes in a 7-string variant as well, which I imagine will be no different in terms of craftsmanship and the overall build quality and just everything about it. Just have an extra string on it. I've been playing guitar since I was 5, so 14 years now, and I can honestly say that after having an instrument like this, I will never go back to a mid-range instrument, purely for the fact that the build quality and the attention to detail and the overall craftsmanship of this guitar is just too good to pass up. Getting really into gear is kind of a detriment in itself, because you get really accustomed to whatever you're playing and you won't want to buy another guitar or another instrument that doesn't have the same hardware as the one you're accustomed to. For example, after having this now, I absolutely adore Hipshot products with the Hipshot locking tuners and the Hipshot bridge. I don't think I could see myself ever getting another hardtail type guitar when it's not Hipshot. This goes beyond sounding like a good instrument. It's going to sound good regardless. It's a custom shop USA model with bare knuckle pickups in it. Like, the only thing you can do is destroy yourself with your tone. Even though tone is subjective, but that's a whole nother topic. Buying this guitar is a gamble for resale. Well, I guess it depends where you live. In Adelaide, Australia, there's not many people that are looking for a Misha Mansoor signature guitar, so I guess I kind of shot myself in the foot with that, but I don't think I could ever see myself selling this unless I really had to for whatever financial reason. At the end of the day, you're not really paying for the features on the guitar per se, but you're paying for the actual build quality and the construction work, and that's the difference between a custom shop and a mid-range Indonesian made or South Korean made guitar. You notice it straight away when you pick up and play it. Everything just feels tight and rigid and like it's just tough. So that's it for this review, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this review of the Jackson Misha Mansoor Juggernaut model HT6 in Laguna Burst. If you like what you saw, subscribe. If you want to see this guitar more, definitely subscribe, because I'll be posting more videos with this guitar in action. And yeah, thanks for watching.